The Premier League Gambling Podcast on the Sports Gambling Podcast Network is brought to you by Bird Dog Shorts. Dominate summer with an amazing pair of shorts and a free Yeti-style tumbler when you order over at birddogs.com/pool. That's birddogs.com/pool. Welcome, everybody, to the Premier League Gambling Podcast on the Sports Gambling Podcast Network. My name is Malcolm Bamford, coming to you from Newcastle upon Tyne in the northeast of England. Today is Thursday, June the 29th, I reckon. And we're here to have a look at the transfer window as it stands and do a little introduction to Fantasy Premier League with the prospect of a listener league looming large on the horizon. Joining me tonight and joining me round about 7 minutes late because he's been baking some crusty rolls. Pathetic excuse is Mr. Barry Penaluna. How's your buns, Baz?
My buns are good. I told you, just as I come on to do this, the daughter come in and told me she wanted some pate and crusty rolls as a late night snack. So I've had to quickly bake her some rolls. I'm ready for her.
That's ridiculous. That freshly baked rolls on demand, Baz.
Unbelievable. What sort of house is this? I mean, when I was 13 years old, I don't think I knew what pate was.
You've made up for it since, though, haven't you?
Different life. That's true. Like
I said to you when we were having this conversation that when I got paid last month at about 1 o'clock in the morning, drunk, I ordered about 80 quid worth of foie gras from some website. Luckily, the next day I had an email off them saying they didn't ship to the UK from France. So I saved myself because I didn't know what I wanted to do with 84 quid's worth of different flavoured mashed up duck livers. So as weird purchases go, that was right up there, Buzz. And I've had a few in my time. So I'll tell you what, we've got some Euro under 21 picks. It's quarter-final weekend. It's been a bit of a weird tournament, that, because they've pissed around with the telly, haven't they? You've had to watch it on the website.
Yeah.
So I haven't managed to come across. So you're going to give us some picks for that. But we're going to have a little look down the transfer, some of the big transfers that's happened at the moment as well. And like I say, I think we're going to do more fantasy this season. We get a listener league up and running. Sean and Mine said they'll put a prize up as well. We're going to do a weekly sort of 10 or 15 minute spot for fantasy. So we thought we'd just do a bit of an idiot's guide today. But I've got some, how we feel about the lifestyle news, Baz. This is a good time to get started on the lifestyle news.
Lifestyle, what do you got? I've got some good lifestyle news.
Well, I didn't want to throw you under the bus here, Baz, but when you messaged me this afternoon, you said, and I quote, I've written it down here, you've got some great lifestyle news. So you've picked this up, Baz, so this had better be good. So do you want to lead off for the lifestyle news?
I'm happy to lead off. Right? The listeners, or the regular listeners...
It might just make mine a bit shit, that's all.
The regular listeners will love the lifestyle news.
You love the okay, you go for it.
As of last week, so Saturday, as a family, we've now got a pet.
Not that fucking orange lizard, is it?
We've never had a pet before. The older one wanted the lizard, didn't she? She had it on the birthday list. Any regular listeners will know we had a birthday list that included an orange lizard, which seemed a bit ridiculous. And I did say I was a bit worried because Helen is a bit of a pushover. I was a bit worried that a lizard.
Oh no, I can't wait!
But we didn't get a lizard for Chloe's birthday. But 2 weeks ago, we were sat around and Sophie said, "I would like a pet." Sophie's the youngest one.
Yeah.
Honestly, she's
crusty
scared of her
rules.
own shadow. She hates dogs. She hates cats. Anything that comes near her, like a spider, a moth, a fly, any kind of bug, she freaks out. So I'm like, what kind of pet can we possibly get that you'll be any good with? So she's done her own research. Come back to what about guinea pig? No. Rabbit? No. Hamster?
I have a guess.
All of these things. So what do you think we went for?
Tortoise.
No.
Oh, okay.
It's a friggin' lizard. We've got a bloody lizard.
Orange one.
It's yellow. So we did we settled on a leopard gecko. So this was on a Saturday afternoon. She says, I've read about geckos. They're meant to be really nice, really tame, handle really well, easy to look after, good around children. I think we should get a gecko. And me and Helen were like, don't be silly, Sophie. You can't just rush into things like buying a gecko. You know, you have to do your research. You have to look into it. You have to go to a shop. You have to speak to someone. So I sort of delayed that and said, look, you know, this isn't going to be something we're going to rush into and do. However, the next day, 24 hours, we went into a reptile shop, spent an hour in there, and came out having spent £300 on a tank and all of the equipment and all of that.
So, which was the actual lizard?
The lizard was £90, I think.
So I could have brought you one back from Mallorca.
Lovely exotic. It's a leopard gecko. It's a yellow with black spots. Looks really nice. And we've called him Bruno.
Well, that was my next question. I was going to play the guessing game because I maybe was going to guess Shola, but that would have been more your choice than hers.
I put Bruno up because he's got the Brazilian colours. He's got a load of yellow in him.
Yeah.
And as soon as I mentioned it, the kids were all over. Yeah, we'll go Bruno. Helen hates it. Didn't like it at all. She preferred Big Joe for a Brazilian theme on it, but wasn't having that. She also liked Miggy if we were going to go down the route of Newcastle player. So she wasn't keen on Bruno, but the kids wouldn't let her change her mind. So we went with Bruno. So yeah, we've now got. Well, we haven't just got one pet. What do you think leopard geckos eat?
Oh, dead mice in that.
Nothing, not dead. They don't eat dead.
Live mice, crickets.
Not mice, but yeah, they eat crickets, locusts, mealworms, but they won't touch them if they're alive. If they're dead, they have to be alive. So I've now got a plague of locusts in the utility room. In fact, if you bear with me 1 second, I'm going to show you my locust.
All right. Baz got to get us locusts. I'll say hello to Captain Sean, who's in there. This is quality stuff from Baz. He wasn't live, but he said he had great lifestyle news.
If you're listening on podcast, you need to get in on the old YouTube.
Oh my God!
We've got a tank there. You might.
What's that orange thing? A carrot?
Yeah, they eat carrots. You've got to feed.
So you're having to feed the locusts.
Can you see that locust there?
All right. So that's the sort of thing like if you don't watch The Simpsons, like one will get out and the whole country will die. It'll be like the Irish potato famine inside about 6 months because of you.
The thing is, everybody in this house hates bugs. So who do you think's got to feed them? And try and chase locusts around if we get an escapee. That'll be me.
Yeah.
So yeah, you have to feed your locusts. So the locusts will eat carrots and lettuce and apple and you're now growing
your own carrots.
So that the leopard gecko gets all the good stuff from its food. So yeah, an eventful week.
Outstanding, Baz. You weren't kidding.
It's been a bit of a disappointment because Bruno has been a bit of a boring fucker, to be honest.
Right. Does he not do much?
Hide for a week. Until last night at about midnight, he came right up to the window and I opened it up, put my hand out. Everyone else was in bed and he crawled out onto my hand, had a little wander around and then walked back in and that was it.
Oh, that's nice. That's
progress. So the kids got up this morning. I told them I was, I'd had a hold of him and they're all a little bit jealous and they're trying to coax him back out again tonight.
It will take a bit of time. When we first got the guinea pigs, in fact, me and Betty were talking about this last night, is that we set her camera up upstairs and she WhatsApp called my phone. So it was like a security camera footage. We were downstairs watching my phone, waiting for the guinea pigs to come out because they didn't come out for about 36 hours as well. They were in that little house cowering away. So yeah, we did the old security thing. Captain Insane was asking over or under days until there's a jailbreak out. Either the lizard's gone missing or there's locusts in your underpants and all sorts.
Yeah, there's eventually. We haven't got crickets yet because we've seen the crickets and the locusts in the shop. Crickets are fast. And the bloke in the shop said if you get an escaped locust, they're quite easy to catch. He says, especially with a big size 12s, you just stand on it. He says they don't go very fast. If you drop a cricket, they're away quick. And then you'll just hear them for days.
Yeah.
You'll never know where they are. And they'll start to stink and they'll make a noise. He says crickets are a nightmare. He says, you'll get over, we'll love crickets. He says, but I'd start off with the locusts until you get used to it. So we're feeding it locusts and worms at the moment. I
feel like I've seen a comedy program, like a sitcom, where there's the missing crickets in the bloke's flat. And I can't... I'll do it. If any of the listeners get in touch with what program that is, because I can definitely remember it. Well, that kind of knocks my lifestyle news into a cocked hat, Baz, because I've got nothing like that at all. I've got three things to mention. Firstly, Baz, have you ever known anything that has become worse for the addition of chocolate? And I don't mean things that obviously shouldn't have chocolate on them, like your hair or roast beef, that sort of thing. Things that people put chocolate on are normally better with the chocolate. I found something this week, Baz, that's had chocolate added to it and is completely and utterly ruined it.
I can't think of anything like. I mean, I don't eat a lot of chocolate, to be honest. But I don't mind things like a strawberry dipped in chocolate.
That's what I mean. Those sort of things, a marshmallow,
donut or something like that. Marshmallows, biscuits are better with chocolate on than without. So yeah, you're gonna have to let me know what this one is.
Cow biscuits. So there was a packet of, malted milk cow biscuits.
Oh yes, yeah.
Well, it's a classic genre, classic biscuit, isn't it? Everyone loves a malted milk. I'll go in the biscuit tin the other day and there's a packet of chocolate-covered malted milks. I thought this could be life-changing. What a grave disappointment, Baz. The malted milkiness of it all has been completely and utterly overshadowed by the chocolate. I was abjectly furious about that. So that's a big no. Second thing I've got to talk about, Baz, red cabbage. Bought a red cabbage on Monday, the size of your head, like your head as well, not like a normal person's head. Massive. Came in, cooked about a quarter of it. Really nice, few caraway seeds, and then some industrial strength Iranian vinegar. So it's sort of kebab shop style red cabbage, Yeah. I don't know what I'm going to do with the rest. Honestly, could feed a family of 20. So I've been eating that with everything on my salmon. Anyway, it came in from work yesterday, went for a wee, and I didn't turn the light on in the downstairs toilet. The smell nearly had my eyes out, right? My eyes were watering to the point where I had to put the light on. I was like, what's that smell? And my pee was like the colour of Ribena, Baz, and absolutely stinking, and was indeed the red cabbage. So that's an incredible effect, that. And the third thing I need to tell you about is I went to the baseball at the weekend, Baz. That was fun.
I know, I was going to ask you that. Good
I went to London. I did. I got my beer bat. Do you like my beer bat?
I saw that on the old Twitter.
Yeah. £15 for a beer bat, £28 if you wanted beer in it. What do you think of that?
That's obscene. That is absolutely.
It's not that bad. Do you know what? It was all right because then it fits 2 cans in, and then it was 13 quid for 2 cans after that. Yeah. So so I filled it up 3 times, and I quaffed my beer bat like this for the whole. Every time I drank it, when you get up to this point, my sunglasses kept falling off the back of my head, and the bloke behind them kept catching it hard and them back. So, but yeah, that was loads of fun. I enjoyed the baseball a lot. It was more fun, I would suggest, than the NFL and other stuff I've been to in London before. So yeah, I had a good weekend. Had some good chat with all the baseball people who are in the Discord channel, etc. So yeah, that's all the lifestyle caught up on. What do you make of all of that, Baz?
Eventful, isn't it? You can tell we've been away for a couple of weeks.
We have, yeah.
Lifestyle going on.
14 minutes in, we said at the top, right, let's not piss around here. We need to get this done. We'll do the FPL stuff. We'll do the Euro stuff. We've talked about red cabbage and lizards, and we've gone 14 minutes.
Yeah. So
Serial's joined. Hello, Serial. How you doing?
I'm going to chuck out some picks here. There's not a lot of football going on at the moment. Certainly, to be honest, I've enjoyed taking a bit of a step back from it all and not.
Only this week on Monday, I thought I was on the phone to Terza and Simmers and that, and I just started missing it.
Yeah.
Just because I had my weekend to look forward to. We had the Champions League, then you had a 2-week break, and then I was like, right, I need some football now. So yeah, just this week I've started missing it. But yeah,
I'm ready for it coming back. I've enjoyed a couple of weeks of just not having to think about it or sort of just switching off. I've enjoyed a bit of cricket, a bit of golf, tennis. I've been getting into plenty of other stuff, plenty of other things to keep me ticking over. So Serial's asking if I've been in the Discord chat, and I haven't really, because I've not been looking to have a bet on anything, and for that reason I've just sort of kept out of it. But I will catch up.
The Discord chat, Baz, has gone very North American. It's all been USA versus St Kitts and Nevis, Canada versus Suriname, and all that malarkey. They've gone feral in there.
I felt like I didn't want to get dragged into that stuff. I wanted me a couple of weeks of break, so I kept away from it. But I'm ready. I'm coming back. We've got some under-21s action this weekend. It's Euro under-21s tournament at the moment, and we're into the quarter-final stages. Now, I haven't watched a lot of this, but I've followed the results and had a quick little look at it and just thought I'd put a few little plays out just for a bit of fun. So there's nothing serious in here, but I thought I'd have a quick run down these quarterfinals and tell you what I think. I think looking at the groups, England and France were the only two teams to come away with 9 points from the group games. England won all 3 games, 2-0. Anthony Gordon from Newcastle has been playing well for England, which is good to see. England are evens favourites against Portugal. Portugal come through their group with 1 win, 1 draw, 1 loss. So I'm prepared to take England in that, in better form. Haven't conceded a goal yet. I think evens looks a good price from what I've seen of both teams. France come up next. I think if you want to double them up, France at 8-13. So what's that? About -170. They're playing against Ukraine. France, again, as I say, won all 3 of their group stage. Now, Ukraine did get a good draw against Spain, who are the joint favourites for the tournament in their group. But that draw did come in the game 3 with Spain already assured of qualification. So sometimes you're not getting a great view of how Spain would set up in that one. So I think Spain and England are joint favourites 3-1 at the moment. France not far behind. Portugal in at 6s. So I think France-England double looks okay, and you'll get a decent price. That neither of them are particularly short. And then the other game, Spain will be big favourites to beat Switzerland. Spain are unbeaten so far. And the Swiss scraped through. In their group, they got through with 1 win and 2 defeats. There was 3 teams in that same position, just 3 points. And they edged out Norway and Italy on virtue of head-to-heads. So they really scraped through and coming up against the Spain side, who look to be one of the teams to beat. So Spain to win by 2 or more at 11-10, plus 110. And in the final game, we've got Georgia against Israel. And I think I'd take a chance on Georgia here at plus money, plus 125, 5-4. They're unbeaten so far, 2 draws and 1 win. And they had a difficult group with Portugal, Netherlands, Belgium. They beat Portugal, who were one of the fancied sides for the tournament, and drew with Netherlands and Belgium. And I just think the form line looks slightly better than Israel, so I'll take Georgia at plus money. Georgia, England, France, and then Spain to win by 2 or more. 14-1 your accumulator if you want a bit of fun on Saturday and that. So yeah, nothing serious. As I say, I haven't watched loads of it, just had a quick look. And this is a gambling podcast, and we didn't have much gambling to talk about tonight, so I thought I'd throw something out there.
Those games for reference: Georgia Saturday 5 o'clock, Spain Saturday 8 o'clock, and then the same times England Sunday 5 o'clock, Sunday 8 o'clock is the France Ukraine game. We're gonna have a look down who's been signing who. Once I've told you about Bird Dogs shorts, Bird Dogs make you look good, Baz. We've got the stretch khaki shorts. They're designed to fit slimmer through the thigh and give you a truly sculpted look. Me and Baz are all about that. They fit better than your regular shorts. They're made of stiff, restricted cotton. And they've got anti-stink, sweat-wicking fabric that keeps you cool and dry all day long. So if you want to get involved in all of that, go to birddogs.com/pool. Enter the promo code POOL, that's POOL, for a free Yeti-style tumbler. With your order, that's birddogs.com/pool for a free Yeti-style tumbler. And you won't want to take your Bird Dogs off, we promise you. So, I had to look down the transfers, Baz, because just to see if anything had moved the needle, really, or anything would make you want to change your mind on outright plays or relegations, and just a bit of general interest. I think the team you have to start with is Arsenal, Baz. They have by far been the busiest, certainly even in the last, in fact, almost exclusively in the last 36 hours, they've picked up. And the main signing has been Declan Rice for £105 million from West Ham. Quite a protracted chase. They made incremental bids, which was kind of annoying everybody. Man City got involved at one point, especially after Arteta had phoned Pep up and asked him to make a bid, according to Enyelugo. And then Arsenal sorted that out yesterday. They also signed Kai Havertz from Chelsea, which I've got a big question mark because I don't know if he's shite or not, but for 60-odd million. And then just tonight I saw the name, and I've seen this name a lot, Jurien Timber, I'm going to say. I don't know if it's pronounced more exotically. Defender from Ajax, around about 40 million. That's 200 million quid's worth, Baz. But I mean, the questions for me are, you can address them in order. Declan Rice is a CDM. He's all right. But I think, are there better ways? You could have spent your 105 mil. Kai Havertz, is he shite or not? And do you know anything about Jury and Timber?
I know nothing about Timber.
Okay.
So I'm not going to go into that. I hadn't realised that one had been done tonight, to be honest. I know it had been rumoured for a while. Havertz, I think, needed a move from Chelsea. I think he is a good player, and I think he's been played. I think he's been played out of position. I don't think he's been in his best form for that reason. At Chelsea, 65 million is a lot of money for a player who wasn't setting the world on fire at Chelsea. I think Chelsea will be happy to have recouped that sort of fee for him. But I think it'll be a good move for Havertz in particular. I think he had to get away from Chelsea. But then it's, where do they fit him in? Because last year, you had Gabriel Jesus, Saka, Martinelli, Odegaard, obviously Rice coming in. There's you're starting to run out of space to fit in your Kai Havertz. But I think it'll be a good sign for Arsenal. I think Arsenal, as you say, it's ambitious. Their fans must be very excited about the money being thrown about. They had a sniff last year, don't they? And they obviously think this is it. We need to seize this opportunity now. This is the closest we'll ever get, and if we don't take the opportunity now, they could slip away. And I think those signings definitely strengthen them. I don't think there's any argument about that. I think Rice is a great player. He's a great signing. 105 million is massive. But as you say, it's for a centre defensive midfielder. If we go back 5 or 6 years, no, but they weren't even considered for prices like that, but they are now.
I think they changed it as N'Golo Kante, like that. He basically,
I was going to say,
really? Okay, sorry, mate. Yeah,
you look at it now, and players like Kante, Rodri,
Busquets, maybe
Casemiro for possibly not the same position, but Fernandes was the other one I was thinking. Enzo Fernandez for Chelsea.
Yeah,
they're becoming far more of a focal point for teams, and teams do play everything through those sort of players now. So they are becoming more and more important in modern day football, and the values are going up accordingly. We've seen, I mean, what was Fernandes? It was close to 110 million.
That was over 100.
Enzo Fernandez. So it's not the first one. I mean, Man City paid 50 million for Calvin Phillips, who isn't anywhere near the level of the ones we've just mentioned, but they got paid 50 million for him for the potential of being able to fill that position.
The thing is, was Calvin Phillips any different to Declan Rice though? So Calvin Phillips, when he went to Manchester City, compared to Declan Rice, even 6 months ago, when West Ham were struggling and shite, Declan Rice was doing nothing, and he's finished the season well. They've won that cup.
I think Declan Rice is far more accomplished than Phillips at this stage.
Phillips was in the England team. He's still in the England team. Like, I think Rice is absolutely outstanding. I think he's a great player.
Anything, though, does it? I mean, Maguire's still in the England team.
Fair enough.
The England team. That's Southgate. I think Rice is a great signing. 105 million is a lot, but if you're an Arsenal fan, are you bothered how much they've spent?
No, of course not.
What was a bit odd was the sort of 80 million, 85 million, 90 million, and then Man City come in and 90 million, and Man City just seemed to come and go like that.
Yeah.
And then all of a sudden it jumped from 90 million to 105 and it was done deal. I think there was just a bit of a pointless messing about with it because everybody knew West Ham's price was at least 100 million. It just seemed like a lot of messing about to get to the point where everybody knew he was going to go to Arsenal for 100 million. And the Man City involvement seemed a bit daft. If they really wanted him, why didn't they go and get him? I don't know. Bit of a strange.
Yeah, fair enough.
If I'm an Arsenal fan, I'm delighted with the signing. I think he'll add to what they've got, and I wouldn't give a damn about how much was spent. I was going to say something else, but I'm not going to.
No, fair enough. So on the subject of Man City, not much got on there. Gundogan's contract ran down. He's got to Barcelona. They brought in Kovacic from Arsenal, which is from Chelsea, sorry, it doesn't really do anything. Calvin Phillips might be on the move somewhere. Chelsea are trying to lose all of their dead wood. They've done okay in shelling out 7 or 8 players. Loads of dodgy deals to Saudi, which I'm not bothered about. Everyone whinging about Saudi. Like,
there's nothing dodgy about it, Malcolm.
There's not. Other countries are allowed football.
Exactly. It's getting ridiculous now. Chelsea have sold a few players to Saudi Arabia. If you look at... and the concern came around, doesn't it? Because the Saudi Arabian investment fund owns 5% of the company who owns 60% of Chelsea. So by virtue of it, they've got about a 2%, 3% holding in Chelsea, indirectly and with absolutely no control over anything within Chelsea. It was stupid. But then, so this the accusation is that Chelsea are offloading loads of players because they need to bring money in and they're sending them off to Saudi Arabia. They're not getting overinflated prices from anyone in Saudi Arabia. They sold Mendy, who was, I mean, how much did they sign Mendy for?
Yeah.
He was a big 30, 40 million pound keeper, wasn't he, at one point? They've sold him for 15 million. Kante's gone on a free. Koulibaly, they bought Koulibaly a year ago for nearly 40 million and they've sold him for 25 million. So it's not like Saudi Arabia are coming in and doing Chelsea any big favours by giving them 50 million for Koulibaly and 40 million for Mendy. They're selling players at about what the value is. It doesn't matter whether they're going to Saudi Arabia, China, USA, or to a championship team. If the players that are moving are going at a market value and nobody's saying, oh, that's a bit pricey, then what's the problem? Just crack on.
No, it just annoyed me that everyone said, like, any player who goes to Saudi Arabia is just a sellout, and anything that they do, like I say, if they've got the money and spend it, they are allowed football. We have no monopoly on this. Europe has no monopoly. These big countries have no monopoly on it. Like, it just, the pattern is absolutely terrible. Like, they brought in Christopher Nkunku, French striker or winger from RB Leipzig. I think the thing with Chelsea is they've got players there. It depends what Pochettino does. He's the key, really, at the moment, rather than the players. Can he harness what they have got? Oh, phone's gone a bit funny there. Yeah, James Maddison signed just yesterday for 40 million quid. And good signing, good player. I mean, compare that to the 105 for Rice, and I think Tottenham have got a great deal. Our Twitter feed, Baz, on the show, I absolutely hate it. I hate it. I always said we're not going to be nasty to anyone, but it's such a chore. You just get loads of stupid takes, is what you get. And now today I've had loads of Tottenham fans saying how Newcastle and Aston Villa need to get back in the box because Maddison has chose him over Newcastle and all that shite. The only thing, what does it tell you about James Maddison? Now, I don't know if he did choose Tottenham over Newcastle or if Newcastle weren't getting involved in the wage demands, but I just think the way the two clubs are going in totally separate directions, I think James Maddison is slightly minded. I think you can tell that by his hair. That leads you. That's suspicious. Like, there's question marks over Tottenham's manager. They're about to lose their best player either this year or next year. They were regressing at a rapid pace last season when Newcastle are going completely and utterly in the other direction. I think he's a good player. We're going to talk some fantasy in a little while. I think he's probably a great fantasy option because he'll get on all the set pieces and have a Gale heading on him in the goal. It's a good signing for them. But like I say, it just doesn't speak to Maddison's ambition for me because I can't say Tottenham at 7th or 8th at the moment of those teams at the top of the Prem.
Yeah, the Maddison one, I would have been happy to see him come to Newcastle. We've no idea if Newcastle actually got involved at all, do we? So a lot of media talk. But what we've learned from Newcastle's transfer business is the players that end up coming in, the media haven't got a clue about. Nobody had a clue we were going to sign Bruno Guimaraes. Nobody had a clue about Isaac that came out of the blue. And nobody had a clue about Tonali, who was just signed from AC Milan. All the talk is about the same players over and over again. So we might have been in for it, and maybe we didn't like it. I certainly don't think we would have pulled out over the transfer fee. because 40 million does look a good price. All the talk was that Leicester weren't going to do a deal for less than 50, 60 million. So Spurs have got a great deal at 40 million. He is definitely a good addition to Spurs. So no problems on their point of view. As you say, if Newcastle pulled out, maybe it did. We don't know if they were ever even in it. The media tell us they were after him, but the media also tell us we were after however many other players. The Hungarian kid from Leipzig, Szoboszlai, there's another one. Barella was the one that we thought was almost going to get done. And the amount of names that get thrown out with Newcastle, majority of the time, the ones that come in on those lists, it's also who knows. But it's a good price for Spurs, and as you say, he's a good addition. I agree. I think Spurs need to invest a lot more to get anywhere near where they were previously. And there's still the big question mark over Kane. Bayern Munich are coming back in with an 80 million bid. I just don't know what's going to happen there. I think Daniel Levy's absolutely mad if he doesn't cash in on Kane. I think it's absolutely... Yeah. I think it's crazy to lose 80 or 90 million for the sake of having one more season of Harry Kane. And I don't think Spurs are in a position now where keeping Kane for one season is suddenly going to mean that they're winning a trophy next year. It's not even like they're in the Europa League and think they could have a crack at that or anything. So I think they should cash in on him. Whether they will, I don't know. The German,
especially Munich, could give sort of Levy get out of free cards here because he can go without having to go to Man United or somewhere and come back to Tottenham and score goals.
The German media seem to think it's close. That Bayern Munich are confident they can get him, and I think it was Bild, the German newspaper, who were quoting that talks have already took place with the agent, and that personal terms won't be an issue. Again, it's the media. You don't know how much to believe. I don't believe for a second Harry Kane will sign another contract with Spurs. And I just don't think Spurs can afford to hold him for a year. What are you getting? One more year out of him and another.
Especially there's other players around as well. Like, I mean, Newcastle picked Isaac up out the blue for 63 mil. Why haven't Tottenham got someone? They could find someone. Isaac might not be the level of Kane yet. He's not far off. But I mean, you can do something like that. They've got Richarlison there who they paid a fortune for last year. You know, stick him up top. He'll score 18 goals or something. If you're going to finish 7th, you might as well finish 7th for him there. So moving on, Newcastle, you mentioned Sandro Tonali, the Italian under-21 captain. I think he's got 43 caps for Italy, which is an incredible signing. Really exciting type of signing. I did a desktop review, so I've seen him on YouTube for 7 minutes. But apart from that, it's just the type of signing. It's a lot of money from AC Milan for an established Italian international midfielder. And you can't argue with any of those. But Tino Liverendo is another name coming in from Southampton, once of Chelsea, been injured for a couple of seasons as well. So, yeah, positive signs from Newcastle.
Yeah, Tonali one, again, I've done the same as you. I've done a lot of reviewing and researching after the event. Read a lot of articles on The Athletic from their Italian correspondents who rate him really highly. And a lot of big names in Italy rate him very highly. And AC Milan fans weren't happy to see him go at all. So I think it's a sign that you know, we are bringing in a real quality player. And by all accounts, one that Howe thought might have been out of our reach. But we've been able to go out there and get it done. So, yeah, excited to see what he brings alongside Bruno. So, yeah, it should be good. Newcastle need to do more business. But, you know, I think we still will be in the market for an attacking midfielder. And as you say, there's been talk of full-backs being linked as well. Livramento being one. Tierney was another. So it'd be interesting to see what we do, but hopefully. The
only thing I know, I have a contact, Baz, as you well know, who I spoke to and asked him these questions. And really, the only information he gave me was that the story that went out about our budget of 75 million, Craig Hope and people like that, have been absolutely panned. If you go on their Twitter, they just get slagged off all the time. The club asked them to put that story out because it's a tactical play. Because if the Newcastle are going to spend that, if you say we've got 500 million, a team's going to ask for 500 million. So if you put that out, it just dampens expectations and lowers the bid. For example, if we were in the Tottenham taking a few million less thinking. So that was just a party line. Just can you put this story out for us? And it's not big. It probably didn't move the needle much either way. But I just feel sorry for those two journalists now Just every time we're linked with anyone, you dickhead, you said we were only going to spend this, but they were just doing the owners a favour, like so. But that was the only information I got.
The other ones I've got down here, we've got. I mean, the McAllister to Liverpool. I'm not sure we covered that earlier in the. I mean, that's a great price, 35 million.
Yeah,
again,
definitely.
If you compare that against the prices for like the Rice at 105 million, McAllister at 35 is an absolute snip. So Liverpool have done really, really well to get that one done. And then Mason Mount, it looks to be going to Man United, 55 million. What do you think about that one?
Criminally mismanaged Manchester United. That's the other thing our timeline's full of. I mean, the sale of Spider-Man pyjamas must be at an all-time low. It's just everyone whinging on about how disgraceful the owners are, even though they've spent 10 gajillion pounds. About 2 years ago, I adored Mason Mount. I thought he was absolutely outstanding. He was the first name on my DFS sheet every week. He used to do everything, and I really like watching him. Bob, who is a bit of a schemer, my kid, a midfield schemer, was that sort of player and would watch Mason Mount. And then I don't really know what's happened to him, but I would have loved it if we'd signed him. I thought it's a good sign for Man United. So remains to be seen what they can get out of him, and it's a good price as well, I think.
Yeah, I think so. Like you, I rate him highly. He's lost his way a bit, as did many players under that Chelsea squad last year.
Yeah.
It's very similar to Havertz. I think there's a player there in Havertz, and I think the move was needed, and it's very much the same amount. He lost his way, he lost his place in the team, and I think it'll be a good move for him because it's exactly the type of player Man United need. He'll get regular game time, and I think it'll be a big bonus for him and a good signing. I think it will turn out to be a good signing for Man United.
Yeah, Villa, Yuri Tielemans is okay. He did just get relegated. Not sure about his legs. And then Pau Torres, they signed tonight from Villarreal, centre back, highly touted.
That one, yeah.
Don't know much about him, so a few concerns about his physicality maybe for the Premier League. But I'm just talking through my hat there. That's just some stuff I saw on Twitter. Brighton picked up James Milner. We know João Pedro, Watford player who Newcastle were heavily linked with. Mahmoud Hood, nicknamed Boys In, Baz. That's my joke for this episode.
You broke up. I didn't hear it. You were breaking up at my end.
Mahmoud Hood, known in the dressing room as Boys In.
Oh.
No?
I'm not laughing at that.
All right, fair enough. He came in from Dortmund. Crystal Palace, Jefferson Lerma. I think the key for them is keeping hold of the good players that they've already got. Zaha's away, Eze, Elise, that kind of thing. And then Brentford picked up Kevin Schade, who looked really sharp at the back of the last season. They made his signing permanent from Freiburg. And we're not ignoring everyone else, but I clicked on everybody's name, and there was just nothing going on. Everton, Fulham, Luton. Luton were in for marvellous Nick Camber, who they had last year from Villa. But there was nothing much going on down the bottom end at all, Baz.
No, all a bit quiet so far, and I think it will pick up quickly. I'm expecting most teams will be back in training within the next week or so. I was looking at, I know Newcastle's first friendly is only 2 weeks away this weekend.
Oh,
so
nice.
I'm assuming Newcastle will be back in action in terms of training soon. Obviously, all those who've been involved in international football will get a bit longer, and the players who are in the Champions League finals and stuff will get a bit longer, but it's not long before it starts to ramp up. I mean, I noticed there was actually a Champions League game being played tonight, Malcolm.
What was it?
A preliminary round fixture between Buduknost and Breidablik.
Okay.
Not sure how it's going, so I can't give you any updates.
Breidablik aren't bad, are they? Norwegian perennial sort of top four finishers.
They're currently on a playoff to get into the qualifying stages. So Champions League starts early.
Like Megan Terza were talking about going to the Faroe Islands potentially to watch a bit of football. It's not very far from Edinburgh Airport. Right, so we're going to do 15 minutes worth of fantasy stuff in a minute. Just a little introduction for anyone who's not familiar, because we're going to get a listener league on the go. I'm going to tell you about Underdog Fantasy, however, speaking of the genre. Underdog Fantasy have Best Ball Mania 4, which is live and giving away $15 million in prizes. Underdog Pick'em is a great way to get down on your favourite MLB and NFL season player props. There's loads of ways to win on Underdog, and it's available in lots of states too. So head to underdogfantasy.com. Use the promo code SGPN for a 100% deposit bonus. Up to $100. That's underdogfantasy.com. promo code SGPN. Okay, Fantasy Premier League, Baz. Now, you're quite good at this. I'm traditionally a bit shite at it, but I tend to lose concentration. And I didn't play last year. I tell you what a weight off my mind it was. We got in the pub after that Nottingham Forest match, first game of the season last year. And everyone was like this. Tiger, Simmers, Nibs, they're all like score. And I was unencumbered, Baz, by the lack of a fantasy team. And I'm supposed to be selling the concept here. But I loved the... so I think my year off, Baz, has enthused me to go and win it this year. So we're going to run a listener league. We've got some prizes. PremierLeague.com. It's all run through the official Premier League website, but we'll sort that out in a bit. But yeah, we just thought we'd do a little bit of a how-to here, Baz. And once we get the league sorted, we can refer people back to this episode and the last 20 minutes of it.
Yeah.
So
the game hasn't.
You play more than me, Baz. So just take us through how you pick your team, and go from there. I'll chirp in if I've got anything to ask. I'll be the idiot.
The game hasn't been launched just yet. It'll come out probably sometime next week. It's normally around the first week of July they release the game, and it's run by the Premier League. It's free to play, and it attracts around 13 million players worldwide.
Nice.
It differs vastly from the usual fantasy league that our US listeners will be used to, where it's all drafts and that sort of scenario. In this one, everyone can select from anyone you want. You pick a player, someone else can have the exact same player. Two players could have the exact same squad. Everyone has a salary cap, and you have to make a 15-man squad. So your 15-man squad will be 2 keepers, 5 defenders, 5 midfielders, and 3 strikers. So from that 15-man squad, every week you will pick your 11 for that week, depending on who they're playing or who's injured. You pick your best 11 that you fancy for that week. That sounds quite easy, but then you've got 100 million salary cap to make it a bit more difficult. So every player has their own value, and you've got to get your 15 players in for under 100 million. So, for example, Haaland next season, I would imagine, will be around about 13 million, which would be the most expensive you would usually get in the game. Defenders at the top.
Just for reference, Baz, Haaland was owned by... I made a few notes. 78% of teams had Haaland in them last year.
That would be at the final game week.
Yeah, last week.
So it's important to say you can change your team throughout. You don't make your team at the start of the season and you're committed to that. You can make transfers as you go along. So yeah, the top strikers will be 11, 12, 13 millions. Top defenders, you'd be talking players like Trent Alexander-Arnold, who get the assists and get the goals and get the attacking returns, but can still have the clean sheet points. They're going to be a sort of 7 million, 7.5 million. Keepers probably max out at about 6 million. And then midfielders, we'll probably have, there'll normally be some in the sort of, I mean, Salah's always down as a midfielder, and he'll be 12 million. Because he's one of
Rashford was a midfielder last year as well.
Rashford was down as a midfielder. Yeah, there's always a few little anomalies where you think, are they really a midfielder or should they be a striker? But yeah, so you pick your 15 players, and you can make unlimited transfers until the start of the season, so you can tinker as much as you like in the pre-season. So no problem getting registered, getting a team in, and playing around with it as things happen. And then after that, once the game starts, there's one transfer free every week. So every week you can make one transfer, take someone out, put someone in, no cost. If you want to make more transfers, you take a 4-point penalty. So if you want to make 5 transfers in the first week, that'll cost you 16 points. Your first one's free, your next 4 cost you. You can roll over a transfer up to a maximum of 2. So if you didn't take a transfer in your first week, you would have 2 to play with the next week. But you wouldn't be able to carry them forward any further than that. You would only ever have a balance of 2 at maximum. So a game week usually covers the 10 games on a weekend. So if there's games from Friday to Monday covering 10 Premier League games, all 20 teams, that will be your game week, and your deadline will be before the first game. You have to have your team in for an hour and a half before the first game. Some of these little things might change. They might change the deadlines when they release the game next week, but we'll find that out. So that's your game week. If there's a midweek slate and they played Tuesday, Wednesday, Thursday, then Tuesday will be your deadline and you're locked in for that midweek period. When it gets to a game week, you choose your 11 starters for the week. There are a few restrictions in terms of what formation. So you must have a minimum of 3 defenders. You must have at least one striker. You couldn't play one keeper, 5 defenders, 5 midfielders. You have to have a striker in there. You've got to play a keeper. But beyond that, you can flex your formation how you like. Play 3-5-2, 3-4-3, 4-4-2, whatever you want. You play it how you want for each week. And you also make a captain choice each week. And your captain scores you double points for that week. So your captain can be really important. Although last year it became a bit of a thing that everybody just captained Haaland every week. So you very rarely made points on your captain because Haaland gets a hat-trick, everybody gets double points. Or if you're bold enough to oppose Haaland as your captain, you risked losing out and falling behind people because they all got double points if Haaland went off. So it's been like that for many years with Salah often. But there are options from week to week. You might have Haaland coming up against, I don't know, let's say Arsenal, and Salah could be coming up against Burnley. And people might think we'll go with Salah and fade Haaland. So captain choice can be very important. And throughout the season, you'll usually get a couple of wild cards. They'll give you a wild card, which allows you unlimited transfers, and you can play that once for one game week and change your entire team at no cost. You'll usually get one before Christmas and another one for the second half of the season. So there's a wild card there. And then there are some additional chips. We've got a bench boost where you can claim the points from your bench. So if you play your bench boost chip, you can do that once in a season. You pick your 11, you've got 4 on the bench, and they don't score points for you that week unless you play your bench boost, in which case all of your 15 players are scoring. So you time those chips right to use them in a point where you know you've got 15 players with good fixtures. There's another one called a free hit chip, which you can use once in a season, usually. Free hit allows you to make unlimited changes to your team again, but for 1 week only. It only counts for that week. So you have a squad of 15, you play your free hit, you've got 15 new players. After that week's finished, your team reverts back to what it was, completely back to what it was. So that free hit is just I really fancy this week and I don't have the players I want for this week. I'm gonna target it. I'll take my free hit. And the final chip is a triple captain. So once a year you can play a triple captain chip, and it is what it is. Your captain scores triple points that week. And again, that can be really important. If you can hit Haaland on a week, he scores 20 points, and you've played your triple captain, you're getting 60, where everybody else who's captain him is only getting 40. So you can gain an edge there. Chip strategy is really important. Utilising those chips, those little bonus plays at the right time of the season can really sort of change your season. Because we have a game week, which is 10 games generally. But what will happen when cup games come along, FA Cup weekends and things like that, some games will get cancelled and rearranged. So you might get a week where only 12 teams are playing and you have half of your squad not playing for that week. So that's where your chips can come in. And similarly, towards the end of the season, when teams are playing catch-up, they may have double games in a single game week. And that's where you play your triple captains and your bench boosts to capitalise on the fact that Haaland's playing a catch-up week and he's got a game on Sunday and he's got a game on Tuesday. And Salah's only playing on the Sunday. You've got Haaland 2 games versus Salah 1. So the chip's really important, but you have to look out for those periods in the season later on, second half of the season, where there's blank weeks for teams, but also double weeks where teams are playing twice. The one fly in the ointment I would mention is price changes. The prices aren't set at the beginning of the season, and that is it. Prices will fluctuate. It's a little bit like a stock market. Let's say not many people buy Mason Mount at the start of the season. He might be priced at 8.5 million, and people don't quite think he's the value. If he gets off to a flying start and suddenly 500,000 people transfer him in, his price is going to jump up a little bit. And similarly, if players get transferred out at a big rate, prices will drop a little. So you might think, I've got money in the bank for a transfer this weekend. I'm going to bring him in for 8 million and I've got enough to cover it. Next thing you know, his price has gone up 100,000 and you've missed out on the boat. I was then going to move on to scoring, Malcolm, but I'm happy to let you talk through the scoring if you want.
Yeah. I mean, a couple of things I just wanted to point out, really, but I'll mention the scoring first. Yeah, clean sheets for your goalkeeper and your defenders. Everyone gets 2 points for playing, so you need people who play. But yeah, clean sheets for your scoring defenders, goals and assists for your midfielders and your attackers. And then you get bonus points as well. So you need to pick up players every game. 3 players will get bonus points. They'll get 1, 2, or 3 bonus points, depending on stuff that they've done during the game. And some players are better at picking up bonus points than others. Some people fit the algorithm closer than others. So you've got to try and remember, you're not picking a football team that's trying to win a football match. So you don't want your Declan Rice's great player, doesn't score or assist. You're better off with wingers, people who take corners. Kieran Trippier last year was great because he kept clean sheets for Newcastle. And he took all the set pieces, so he got a gazillion assists and a gazillion bonus points. So they're the kind of things that you're looking for. And really, the game is almost all about differentials, because what will happen is everyone in the league will have the same 7 or 8 players. It's unavoidable. Everyone last year had Haaland. Most people will have Salah. Most people have one of the top 3 goalkeepers. Everyone had Kieran Trippier and another Newcastle defender. Odegaard was another cheap one. So the differential, the thing that's going to make you win, is using your captain well, as Baz just said. This week might be Salah at home to Crystal Palace, but you might just want to take Callum Wilson away at Burnley, and he might get a couple of goals. So it's the 2 or 3 players that you've got that other people don't. Your captaincy is a great differential maker. And then the use of these chips, if you can hit your triple captain, if you can hit your bench booster, your wild card, whatever it is, then they're going to be the main differences. So, I picked out a few players. Like I said, Kieran Trippier last year. Newcastle had 3 defenders in the top 10. But 2 of them, Dan Burn and Sven Botman, were really, really cheap. So they were great sort of difference makers. Brighton had 5 players who scored a load of points, all really cheap. You had Matoma, you had Gross. I'm trying to think who else was in there now. Estupiñán was in there. They had all between 5 and 5.7 million and all scored around about 130 points. And the other thing that is form, so Miguel Almiron scored a load of points, but he scored them all in the first half of the season. Matoma scored a load of points. He scored all of his in the second half of the season. So you've got to spot when a player's running out of form, or you've got to spot when a player's coming into form, or when they've got a good run of fixtures. You say, right, Brighton's next 5 is Burnley, Forest, Luton, Everton, Man United, 5 rubbish teams. So they're all you're going to pick up points there. So there's a load of little things you can do. And these are things that we'll try and cover every week on the show, just give little pointers to, as well as I'm sure the Discord channel will be buzzing with questions and advice as well, Bat.
So, yeah, as you say, the points are fairly what you'd expect. Assists, goals, clean sheets, yellow cards, red cards, you lose your points. Keepers get extra points for how many saves they make. So keepers, I think, you would think, well, let's go with Edison. He might keep a few clean sheets, but he doesn't make many saves because he never has to face many saves. Players from teams like Brentford and Brighton's who do concede chances but make lots of saves, their keepers can get a lot more points. Because they're busier and more active. The points for
David Raya, the Brentford goalkeeper, was the top scoring goalkeeper last year.
Yeah. Your goal scoring points as well differ depending on the position. So a striker scores 4 points for a goal, whereas a midfielder scores 5 for a goal. So Kane will get you 4 points if he scores, whereas Salah will get you 5. And defenders are worth 6. So people like Trent and Trippier who'll be on set pieces. You get a goal scoring defender, Van Dijk can often get on the end of things like that. They can be worth the points because the defenders are the only ones, defenders and goalkeepers are the only ones that can keep clean sheets, but they can also get the goals and assists. So that's why the defenders become really important. But as you say, it's finding the value because everyone will have Haaland and everyone will have certain others like Trent Alexander-Arnold because he's dynamite in this game. But it's finding the value and finding it early on before others and getting on jumping on the right trains at the right time and getting off at the right time. But the most fun part is it's not about playing against 13 million other people in the world because there is just one big league and your chances of winning that league are minuscule. But it's the ability to set up mini leagues so we can all set up mini leagues. Over here, I play 5 or 6 cash leagues with varying stakes and some of those are really competitive and with some really good prize money. Trophies on up for grabs and things, and it can be really good and engaging. So we will definitely be putting up a listener league, get as many people involved as we can, and put a prize up, which I'll obviously inevitably probably end up winning myself. Although Serial is bigging himself. Serial's claiming he's going to win it. So I'm
you see,
quite,
there's four people in the chat, Baz.
If you can beat me, I'll put a bounty on my head. He can have $50 out of me if he can finish above me next.
Every single one. Ad's in the chat there. He finished 5,600 overall last season. That's like in the top 1%, Baz. Are you beating that?
It's better than the top 1%, I think. Isn't it? 13 million. He's. I mean, I was in the top 1%, and I was around about 90,000, I think.
Oh, okay.
I'm just having a quick look. In my rank was 85,000 for the season, which is a good rank. If you can finish in the top 100,000 of this game, you're doing well. I'm going to try and find my. I was going to try and find my overall history. I reckon I've got at least 1 year where I finished in the top 5,000. So I reckon I can match in 1 year, but. Not recently. It gets harder and harder. 5,000 last year is an absolutely cracking finish. So yeah, hopefully Ad will join us. He's not getting enough.
Well, like I said at the top, I'm traditionally absolutely dog shit at this, but with a little bit of pride at stake here, I might concentrate extra hard and probably win the whole thing. Okay, Baz, I think that's just about everything covered. I've got to get some baseball lines written down before I go live on the MLB Gambling Pod in 20 minutes or so. Is there anything else you want to tell us about before we crack on?
I've got a joke.
Hey!
You threw a joke out before.
Yeah.
I thought I'll try one. So what type of cheese would you use to coax a bear out of a tree?
I know this.
Come on, bear.
Am I allowed to answer, or do you want the punchline?
I've just said it.
Oh, well, my thing's frozen. We've done two jokes on the show, Baz, and we've crashed the punchline on both of them.
Yeah.
I can't believe you've tried to sneak a cheese joke past me, by the way. I know loads of cheese jokes. I can knock your 5 out right now.
Yeah. I walk past a coffee shop on the way to work every day, and they have a chalkboard outside, and they have their joke of the week, dad joke of the week. And I'd seen that one last week. I thought I like that.
Are they all cheese jokes?
No, they're not all cheese jokes. No.
Okay then. Yeah, you'll never defeat me on a cheese joke, Baz.
I'll come up with a new one for next week.
Fair enough.
A new segment on the show. Joke of the week.
Cheese jokes. Love it. Right, well done. We've got the Women's World Cup coming up soon, so we might have some actual stuff to talk about rather than cheese jokes and lizards, red cabbages, and whatever else we talk about. Thanks everyone for joining in. Go and research fantasy football and get your prep ready for when the league goes live. Cheers, Serial and Captain Ad's in there as well. Thank you very much, Barry. We'll be back next week. Maybe some Women's World Cup stuff to talk about. Whatever else we can find. Until then, we'll see you down the road. Cheers.